Hello from CES. I am Tom Kamber. I'm the Executive Director of Older Adults Technology Services, OATS, from AARP. And I am joined here by Sasha Spellman, who's the Director of Collaborative Engagement at the AARP Age Tech Collaborative. And we're here today to talk a little bit about the innovative programming that Age Tech Collaborative is doing. But first, Sasha, tell me a little bit about what your role is at Age Tech Collaborative, and what is Age Tech Collaborative for our viewers?
Yeah. So I am the Director of Collaborative Engagement. Essentially, I handle customer success for our community. And for those that don't know, the Collaborative is an ecosystem that we have been looking to grow that supports age tech solutions for older adults. So we have early stage startups. We have test beds that are looking to pilot and demo with startups. Investors and VCs that are either in the longevity space or looking to potentially start funds in that space. And larger enterprises, like we have Samsung here today with us that want to collaborate with our startups. So my team manages all of those accounts, and we make sure they're having value on the platform that we've built, and when they come to events like this, that they're making connections across the ecosystem.
Wow, that word ecosystem gets thrown around a lot, but it sounds like you've got all the parts of one, right? From the kind of beginning of the development of something all the way through the more advanced growth of a company and into how they integrate and engage with each other.
Yeah, we think so. I mean, I think we're young. We started the collaborative about 2.5, 3 years ago, and so we started with the key components of the ecosystem that we thought made sense, but I think we're open to exploring what other areas could be integrated into the collaborative, so we're always iterating on that. We've thought about government, what role that could play in the collaborative, academic institutions, and we have a few universities that are part of it as test beds, but maybe there's a place for academia to be part of the growing ecosystem. So I think we have the right components now, but could change that later on.
And why is the collaborative important for the 50 plus market of older Americans? Why do we need something like this?
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to prove that age tech solutions are, older adults are very tech savvy, and we want to inspire more entrepreneurs and founders to get excited about this space. It can be often overlooked, we think, and so we have a lot of great startups here today. We have 18 to 20 companies that are looking into areas like digital health, wellness, social connection. We don't have any fintech solutions here today, but we do also have a number of fintech companies in our portfolio. And so it's important for us to continue to build better products that are going to have implications for older adults to be able to age on their own terms and align with AARP's mission to empower people to choose how they live as they age.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I was walking around a little bit, and it's such a robust group of different kinds of companies. There's the LEQ robot, which has a completely new interface this year that they've designed.
Yeah.
There's that company that does accessible dwelling units. That's is it Wheelspace? Is that the name?
Wheelpad.
Wheelpad.
Yep.
Which is what a wonderful notion that. My daughter uses a wheelchair, and so we're always trying to find spaces where there's ramp accessibility. And we're also, as we're aging in our home as caregivers, she's 17 now, and we need that kind of a thing for our own space. And I was looking at it and thinking, maybe I should get one of these that are attached to the side of my house, and it promotes that independence for her as she gets older, but as older parents and caregivers, it's so helpful for us not to have to construct something like that from scratch.
1,000%. It's so important to have those solutions. I have an aunt who has, she's Guillain-Barré syndrome, and she lives in an apartment in New York City, and she's just so limited with what she can do and move around in her tiny space. And so I was actually really excited. I don't know if you've checked it out yet, but we have Lotus. So they're the smart wearable ring that with infrared light can you can point and turn on lights, or open up a shade or a fan, and there's no wires or anything. It's just a magnetic device that connects to any outlet.
Right.
And so I was thinking for my aunt, that could be amazing implications for her.
Well, it's funny you should mention this, because a few years ago I was working on a project called Hacking Muriel.
Okay.
Because I have a friend named Muriel, and today she's 96 years old. I just visited her last week, and she lives by herself in a rent-controlled apartment in Chelsea, in Manhattan. But she's got a lot of mobility impairment, and she's almost completely blind. And I was working with her to try to outfit her apartment with technology that would help her extend her independence and her ability to use the apartment with less intervention from caregivers. And of course, she certainly uses a lot of support, but anything she can do for herself I wanted her to be able to learn podcasts, listening to podcasts online or connecting with people through her iPad. And she has a doorbell that's mechanical, and there's no way to digitally connect to it. And I was very frustrated because I couldn't get her to operate the doorbell without having to get out of bed, which she can't do, but Lotus would work.
Yeah.
Lotus would work for that because it's a mechanical button and she could make that happen.
Yeah, and right now it's just like a point and click button, but what the founder Duval was sharing with me today, because I was wondering like, so I have a 13-month-old baby and I'm thinking about for my own needs, like I'm in the chair putting my child to sleep, but I'd love to just not have to stand up, turn off the light. But can you like dim the lights and just do or change channels or whatever it might be? So they're going to integrate more technology there, that the Ring has more tactile sense to it.
It's very cool. Tell me, what are are there any success stories that Age Tech Collaborative can point toward in terms of cool, sort of wins that you've had with some of the participant companies?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of just like successful startups, so one is right over here, Kyle Rand from Rendeavor. He's doing some interviews in our podcast booth for the week, interviewing other founders, which is really exciting. But his product Alco has been very successful. We have another VR company, XR Health, that's in our booth today. They've been very successful in terms of funding. They usually exhibit on their own, but we brought them into the booth today. Nice. And then we've also had some successful stories in terms of like connections across the ecosystem. Like we're really trying to, growing the ecosystem is great, but what's going to really prove the value is that if there's funding happening, if there's pilots happening. So one of our companies that's exhibiting at Next Stride, they also go by Deoro devices. They have a device that attaches to a walker or a cane to help with freezing of gait and mobility issues. And so they have visual and auditory cues to help with that. And so they've been piloting with one of our test beds in Michigan called Holland Home. And it's a senior living community. They have had this man that's fallen every month at their facility, and during the pilot, for the past 4 or 5 months, he has had not one fall. So those types of stories are what we're trying to inspire, and then we're going to start sharing more of those in 2024, just to give some real insight into like what the collaborative is doing outside of just the growth of the number of companies.
I love the fact that the collaborative has the testbed element. Oates joined as a testbed this year, as you know.
Yes.
And one of the things that we've learned over 20 years of working in the field, our work is mostly really on the ground, working with partner sites, your local senior center, your libraries. We do a lot of direct training for older people. But one of the things we've learned is that all the programs that work well are co-designed. You sit down next to an older adult and you ask good questions and you think about the user pattern and the user experience and the ergonomics and try to get it really adapted from the customer side. And the whole testbed model, of course, is unleashing a huge amount of opportunity for that, for companies that are developing new things. And we did a program with ARP last year where we developed a guide for product tech developers called age-friendly design practices. And we did a whole bunch of research, and we worked with Greg and Michael Phillips and other people on this. And we developed this really neat little guide that people really liked.
Yeah.
And then we asked this group in the UK to come and test some apps with us. Well, as they were testing the apps, they also asked, did you do any co-design on the apps? And out of the 50 groups that they talked to, only 3 of them did any co-design.
Oh, wow.
And only 1 of them did co-design with older adults. So how can we design technology for seniors or for older people without working with them? It's not an abstract concept. These are actual people doing stuff, so it's amazing.
Yes.
Tell me, before you were at Age Tech Collaborative, you worked at the CTA Foundation, which is one of the leading, probably the first real foundation that focused on aging and disability with their grant making, which is really a pioneering effort for them in American philanthropy, which needs to do more for older people, as we know. What is it about this topic? And clearly you seem to have a passion for older adults and accessibility and inclusiveness. Why do you care so much about this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I love my time at CTA. I'm very close to Steve Ewell. He's great. I grew up, my grandparents on both sides all had Alzheimer's, and so and I lived in the house with my grandparents on my mom's side. So just watching my mom be in that sandwich generation with 4 kids, aging parents, and having to deal with the stresses that comes into play of managing your parents and not getting that quality time, and you're just doing the day-to-day care coordination.
Yeah.
I'm really passionate about some of the solutions we have that could give back some of that time to folks that fall into that state so that they can be more present with their loved ones. So initially, that's why I was really excited about it. And the second thing is that the founders in this space, I worked with a ton of startups when I was at CES. Over 1,200 companies would come to the Eureka Park section.
Yeah.
So it's like all sorts of industries, but the founders in this space are so empathetic. They started the companies from their own personal stories, and that just comes through in their products usually. And so I like the personal founders that I've been able to meet and see grow. I like watching startups be successful, so that's why I like it so much.
Must be neat to be coming back year after year and people say, hey Sasha, how are you? And you realize like they had a gleam in their eye, 4 years ago, and now they're actually turning a profit, right?
Yeah.
And you must be, since you have you get the first look at a lot of new tech and you get to spend a lot of time with this, what technology do you use yourself personally that makes your life better?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a lot of robotic solutions. So I've been very much in baby mode in the past year, but there's robotic solutions that I'm really excited about, the robo vacuum cleaners and things. I mean, the Lotus Ring is one that really excited me, that it can just wearables are interesting. And then actually what's kind of fun is we were able to go down to Eureka Park. The teams are picking startups to pitch on our stage on Friday at 1 p.m.
Yep.
So I got to talk to some of the companies down there, and I'm also very interested in women's health solutions. So I got to see a few mommy and baby tech solutions, but also there were some menopause and perimenopause solutions down there. So I was really excited to see a lot of those solutions as well.
That's great. I follow an Instagram page called Menopause Made Modern.
I should follow that one.
It's really interesting. It tells all these great stories of people, dealing with menopause, but also really helping people make more of a community out of it, and with coping strategies, and also kind of demystifying and making it clear that this is just part of our lives, and it's very natural for people as we're getting older. So glad that you're interested in those topics.
Yeah, I mean, I did not know much about menopause before joining AARP, and I've learned so much about the implications of it, what the symptoms are, and how early it can start in a woman's life. And there really aren't that many products tailored towards it. So I just love to see more and more founders get into the space.
And how have you seen CES changing over the last 10 years?
I mean, it's been interesting. There's been ups and downs. So I left during 2020, right before the digital show. So. The themes and the categories of the show have changed a lot. I think this year it seems like AI is the unofficial theme of the show. Every company is talking about AI. I haven't left the booth much, but what I've read online about some products, like in the automotive section, like Volkswagen's incorporating ChatGPT into their vehicles. There's LG did a keynote about AI, and they were terming it affectionate intelligence, which I thought was kind of interesting. They want to approach their users with empathy and consumer care. I was like, I like that. So yeah, that seems to be like the big theme this year, and CES just keeps growing. I mean, it's got to stop at some point. I think they're running out of venues.
Right? It's like you walk from one end to the other can take the entire day.
And you've been to the show a number of times.
This is my 10th year.
This is your 10th?
Yeah.
Both our 10th years. Wow.
Yeah, so for me it's been more very similar to the things you're describing. Also, a lot of integration of the tech. When I remember coming and you'd get, there'd be like a headphones that had better audio, but now you've got headphones that have better audio and they monitor your heart rate and they're biometric.
Yeah.
Or you've got, there was, plumbing technology that would track your water usage and something like that, but now it tracks your water usage and it'll create aromatherapy for you and stuff. So there's all sorts of what I think of as convergence or enhancements that are that are pretty neat. Definitely, this is the year of AI. I remember the year of virtual reality was a big thing for a while there. And the 4K television year, I remember coming and being bowled over by the crispness of the images.
Yes.
So there is a kind of wow factor. It makes it fun, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the Central Hall always does a great job with the wall of monitors. Like I think LG does that, and it's always fun.
And this year, it's the transparent television seems to be getting everybody's
Oh, I
attention.
did see something with the transparent television.
I
And then there's
haven't
also a flying car. I think it's Hyundai Supernal has an air mobility concept.
Just what we need. I have a 17-year-old that's about to get her driver's license, and the last thing on earth she needs is a flying car.
Oh gosh,
she can barely drive the regular
car. There's also, I mean, transportation has always been a big theme at CES. So, there's a boat company that I used to actually work with when I was working for CTA, and they are incorporating electric motors into their boats, which is interesting.
Nice.
There's a motorcycle with no hubs; it's all electric. So yeah, there's all sorts of concepts.
Stuff, right?
Yeah, cars.
And so you're the director of customer engagement, right? So.
Yes.
How, if somebody wants to learn about Age Tech Collaborative, or you're running a startup or you're a company and you've heard about this now from this interview, how can somebody get involved in Age Tech Collaborative? Where would they start?
Yeah, great question. So there's two different pathways. So if you are an early stage startup, we would recommend for you to first apply to one of our pitches. That's the first step for any company to get involved with what we do. Once a company applies to a pitch, they become eligible for our accelerator program that we run in-house. It's an 8-week-long program that's it's 4 times a year, so every quarter. And then all goes well there. They get to graduate to our ecosystem where we would connect them with test beds like Oats or with our investors or other participants. So that's the pathway for startups. And then for other groups like other test beds or investors, just go to agetechcollaborative.org and there's an apply today page and you can go there, fill it out, and our business development team will get in touch and see if you're a good fit for the ecosystem.
And they might actually get to talk to you.
They might get to talk to me one day and maybe work with the Oats team. And we're so excited to have Oats as part of the ecosystem. I'm excited to learn more about the new Senior Planet in Miami and figure out ways that we can learn from you all, from your success with digital literacy and testing with older adults, because we've done some piloting, but I think we could do a lot more. So we're so excited to work with you.
Too. It's been, we just crossed our 3-year anniversary as an affiliate of AARP.
Oh, wow.
And we've really been able to expand so much. We're serving 10 times more people this year than we served before the affiliation. So the growth rate's been there. And we're really, we feel like our time has come in a way where suddenly everybody's talking about age tech, everybody's talking about digital equity, and we've been plugging along here for 20 years, but suddenly we're kind of on stage, and it's been really fun to try to make those transitions, and the staff are excited and there's some growth, and the Miami site is, I think, a pretty good example of what's possible, with AARP focusing on helping us launch something, but us bringing the history and the intellectual capital and the sort of model together, and then all of the different funders and collaborators in Miami that help launch that space. So
that's amazing.
We invite you down to
maybe our team can come do like a pitch in the Miami area and can work. I'd love to come see the Miami. It looks beautiful, the aesthetic and the colors that you use.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So we'll get you down there. We would love to do a pitch event in Miami, so let's talk about that offline.
Yeah, we'll get Amelia and Andy involved on that one.
Great. Well, Sasha, it's been great getting a chance to talk with you, and I look forward to many more conversations over the years, but thanks for doing this.
Yes, thanks so much, Tom. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Absolutely. Good.
Great.